Now I'm trying to reline you up.
Okay. So you can't see my
All right.
dash.
All right.
Is
We're good. We're
we are?
good. We're finally there. We're only 12 minutes in and we're finally there. So, you're inking off stream, you're inking
Yeah.
Heartthrob.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Heartthrob, obviously.
Sure.
It's a book we both work on. I flatted one of your pieces that you sent to me on the previous stream, by the way.
Which one?
The your own work, the not the Vader, not the
Yeah.
dark side.
Yeah, the Proxima piece.
Yeah. So we're gonna be working on that
Oh,
on
goodness, I'm so
stream.
excited.
What's that?
I said I'm so excited.
Um, so before we jump into this, there's the first question that I like to ask everyone that comes on stream is, what's the first comic that you remember picking up?
The first comic that I bought for myself was Uncanny X-Men. I think it's 294 or 95. It's like the second or third part of the Executioner's song. So it's like the most convoluted crossover. And Cable is standing over Professor X's body that he had presumably just, shot and killed.
Sure.
And yeah, man,
Is that what attracted you to the issue? The cover, that Cable would murder Professor X?
maybe, I don't know, but so like I was watching the X-Men cartoon and got really into it, and
Yeah.
my buddy Matt Robinson from Church Junior High Youth Group was like, "Yo, if you like this cartoon, check this out."
This is
And
gonna blow your mind.
yeah, and he had two older brothers, so he had tons of comics and like every GI Joe and GI Joe vehicle you can imagine, because
Yeah.
he just everything his brothers were too cool for.
Yeah, just inherited.
Yeah, he had everything but the aircraft carrier. But yeah, so like he showed me some comics and some X-Men trading cards, which was, I think it was the Jim Lee set. So of course I was instantly like,
Yeah, instantly hooked.
was
Yeah.
hooked on it. And yeah, so I pretty immediately just like scrounged up whatever change I had and went and found the nearest X-Men comic and, a couple packs of cards, and
Sure.
was pretty all in from there.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were into other than the X-Men growing up at the time? And how old were you, would you say?
When I was buying my first comics, I think I must have been in like 6th grade.
Yeah.
So, but also I was homeschooled, so I just wasn't exposed to a lot of things until later.
Yeah.
And so like I still played GI Joe probably until I was 12 or
Yeah.
13. And I remember like buying a GI Joe thing for one of my friends for their birthday parties, and all of the other kids were public school kids, and they were like, "GI Joe, like what are you getting
Oh no.
present for?" Yeah. Like I had so many great like humiliating experiences that came out of just not knowing
Right.
what kids were like.
Yeah. So what made you go from like, I really love comics, to maybe I'm going to like give comics a shot as a career?
Well, my mom bought us this 3-pack of X-Men comics, me and my little brother, when we were on some road trip. We did a lot of family road trips because my dad
Yeah.
traveled for work. We were homeschooled, so we could. And it was the first 3 issues of the Jim Lee adjectiveless X-Men.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, like, reading those, all 3, reading them through, and then starting over and noticing in each of the issues it had the same names, and it was like, penciled by Jim Lee.
Yeah.
And I was like, one, this must be Stanley's son. And two, like, like that is what this guy does. Like, I
Right.
guess if a person can do this, I assume that's what I will do.
Yeah.
And it was just like a foregone conclusion, basically.
I had a similar experience when I was in high school. I was like reading comics for a while, and then it just like dawned on me that they were made by like
People.
that one guy like wrote it, and that one guy drew it, and that one guy color. Like it was all like seemed attainable and doable. Like
Absolutely.
like you didn't have to move a mountain to like get a movie made or whatever. You could just like go.
You just start making it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I
did you go to school for art?
no, no. I went to a Baptist liberal arts college.
Yeah.
Um, Mostly just because, like, I hadn't even thought about college until my senior year of high school, and my mom was like, "So you're gonna go to college? Where do you want to apply?" And I'm like, it all just seemed like an inconvenience, you know?
It's a huge ask for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, it is. And especially for someone who, like, I had never been to a single day of school at a school.
Good God, did college like blow your mind the first day?
No, college was like pretty easy. Um, because I spent so much time by myself. Like, me and my brother made ourselves breakfast and lunch, and
Yeah.
just kind of like my mom would check in with us. 'Cause,
So
like,
you were like self-sufficient.
yeah, because like my mom, like, she didn't know like calculus or whatever.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was like, I'm gonna check your answers and check your work, and this matches up, so I guess you get an A. Like, uh, so it was like the school part was fairly easy. The thing that was like this huge surprise to me was like I went to visit the school, and it seemed cool, and I liked it, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, I there are only like 2,500 people here. I'll just probably be friends with everyone. And I thought that.
It's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I was going to ask you is, it seems like every time I see you at a convention, you are literally friends with everyone.
But
Like,
that's what I want. I want
that's
that.
what you want. You're like actively working towards that goal.
Sure.
How does that, I mean, like, okay, so I get weird at Comic Cons. Like
Okay.
there are groups of people that I assume are too cool for me. Like, don't want to talk to me, so I don't even bother.
Oh,
You
I'm like
know?
I'm the exact opposite. I see someone, and I'm like, if I think they look cool, or their work is cool, or just
Yeah.
interesting or weird, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I gotta meet that person.
Yeah.
I just am real curious about people, I guess.
I see that person, and their work is interesting or cool or whatever, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm going to keep just doing my own thing in the darkness, you know?
Sure.
Like, I it's tough for me to if I don't have somebody there with me who's like, oh, meet my friend, then
Sure.
like it's hard for me to just like rally and go. So do you think that because you went to college with that mentality, that it like primed you for Comic Cons?
I don't know, man. I think it might have like stunted me because I was that way to begin with. Like,
Yeah.
I played basketball at a Christian school, and I was like, well, I'll just be friends with all these guys, I guess.
Yeah.
And when you're on a basketball team, a sports team or whatever, like, you spend so much time together, you just
Sure.
kind of are, you know?
Yeah.
So well, that worked out, you know. Like, I was in a band. I met some guys that, liked the same kind of music I did, and I was like, hey, I play bass and guitar. Like,
Yeah.
let's have a band, let's be friends. And it just worked. Like, it just always worked. When I got to college, and I'm like, hey, you look interesting, let's be friends. And this junior was like, who the hell is this kid? It was heartbreaking. It was like,
yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute, you mean everyone in the world isn't nice all the time? Like, jeez. It was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah. That's,
But
man.
Comics has brought me back around, because I go to a comic convention and I just assume, well, everyone will like me and I will like everyone.
Sure.
And then that's true. It's like, I don't know, it's life affirming.
So give me 1 second. Apparently people are getting errors in the chat.
Yeah.
I hope that this is working right. It seems to be working well on my end. I only have a couple dropped frames and it looks like it's still broadcasting. So
Okay.
I think that this might be a Twitch thing. If it is, we're going to put it all up on YouTube as well. So it is Twitch. Yeah. Psycho Tech Arms is saying it is Twitch. Well, it's going to go all up on YouTube as well, so hopefully the VOD is intact. If not, we're just going to have to talk to Robert again. Waste more of your time during the day where you're trying to get Heartthrob out the door.
I love it.
So
I do this every week with you, Nick.
yeah, I'm down. So
You know, my dog is scratching the door. You mind if I pop up and
yeah, go ahead. Do what you got to do.
You guys might get to meet my dog. He's a bit shy. We'll see.
It's weird that it's working perfectly for some of you and not perfectly for other people. You're backing up files before you pack up the work computer? Heading out on that move, Sally. So, did you go to college for art and comics and that kind of thing?
No. I don't know what happened, what it was. My dad wanted me to study business or architecture.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't really have too much opinion one way or the other. She really wanted me to go to a Christian school.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the thing about Christian schools, especially like really like academically rigorous ones, is that you have to learn a lot about the Bible, which also makes you unlearn a lot of what you've already learned about the Bible.
Yeah.
So like they wanted me to go to Christian school, I think, to like keep me in that like belief system or whatever.
Sure.
But that is the thing that led me to be like, some of this doesn't exactly seem right.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, yeah. Some incongruous things. Yeah. So you didn't go, so what did you end up studying while you were there at college?
I ended up studying marketing.
Yeah. Do you feel like marketing skills ported over to comics in any kind of capacity?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think anytime that you are doing your own thing, be that some kind of art or a craft, you're essentially starting a small business, and I look at like my success to skill ratio.
Yeah.
Probably a little higher than it should be. Like, I have a lot of friends who are as good or better artists than me that don't do as well as I do. And I suspect that's because
they just don't market?
They don't market, and they also aren't, like, good at sales, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a bit of a natural salesman. And I also did sales in high school and college.
I actually, at Heroes, I had a kid from SCAD come up to the table and was like, hey, I'm a senior, I'm graduating, you know, like I had put together my portfolio, and I was like, oh, where can I see it? And he was like, well, I don't really have an internet presence. And I'm like, dude, you're starting from way back. You're like doing yourself a huge disservice. Like, if I can't find you, then how am I going to hire you?
Yeah.
No matter like what the work looks like, it could be fantastic, but you know.
You would have to be an absolute prodigy at this point,
right,
to get hired without a pre-existing fan base.
So how did you make the transition from like, you know, doing marketing in college to like, I'm gonna start like dedicating myself to comics? Like, how did you make that switch?
Well, do you want the full like weird Judd Apatow version or just the condensed version?
Give me whatever version you want to give me.
All right.
Because I think it's interesting to go from like, it seemed like, at least from my perspective, like your life was fairly planned for you.
Sure. Yeah.
And you just like had this, it seems like, and I don't know if it was like a concrete moment or just like a gradation over time, but like there was a moment, it seems like, where you just like cut the wheel in the other direction.
Kind of, yeah. Well, it's like so I had finished my marketing degree, or so I thought, and was like starting to apply for internships and stuff, and you know, graduation was coming up, and I got a phone call from whatever office it was, the academic whatever office, and they were like, so, you know, we got your application for graduation, but you are missing a class, and it turns out your advisor was using an old class requirement sheet, and because this is all before everything was digital.
Yeah.
And so they're like, so you cannot graduate, and because of our wacky private college rules, you have to do the last 10 hours of your major on campus. So not only can you not graduate, like, you can't leave.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it was like real.
That's terrible.
It was like a real emotional and psychological blow, you know?
Yeah, right.
And
also totally not your fault.
Yeah, sure. Well, and also that my advisor got fired that same semester, but for something else.
Yeah.
He had checked out. He's kind of a butt, kind of a beehole.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So I was like, not only do I not get to graduate with all of my friends,
sure,
but I have to stay in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
For another semester. Now I did art minor because, you know, I like to draw, and that's what I really wanted to do, but had kind of bought into this like, well, there's no jobs for artists, and
God,
you know,
I hate that mentality.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of true. There are not a lot of salaried jobs.
Sure.
For artists. And there still are some, but I was like, if I have to come back for another semester, like, I'm just gonna get an art degree. I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah. And could you get an art degree in one semester?
In a year, in 1 year.
In 1 year, okay.
Yeah, and my new advisor was like, no. You can't do 60 hours of studio art classes in 1 year.
And you were like, watch me?
And I was like, yes, I can. And they're like, well, for one, are you going to quit your job? Because I worked at Sears. And I was like, no, I can't quit my job. I can't afford to.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know. And so, like, I had to go and get the dean of the art department and my boss at Sears and both of my parents to sign off on it. And they all did. I talked them into it.
Yeah.
And so I did 60 hours of studio art classes in one calendar year. And
How
I
was
probably
th- how
I
was that
probably
on
only
you?
slept like 3 or 4 hours a night. Like
Jeez.
it was a because I was working 30 plus hours a week,
Yeah.
just to like pay rent
Yeah.
and because at this point like my parents weren't paying for all my stuff. So also I had to get a loan, student loan.
Yeah.
And so it was a real grind, a real grind.
Sure.
But at the same time, I was excited
Yeah.
and happy, and I just hadn't been doing my business stuff. Or at least very, very rarely had I been.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my GPA went up dramatically. Like I made Dean's honor roll both semesters.
So it
Uh,
was like this like kind of awakening that you had to like,
yeah,
oh, this is the thing.
it was like a real trial by fire type of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, and it felt good. It felt
Yeah.
good. I liked it.
So
And
how did you go? So you obviously you're like, putting the work in.
yeah,
You're putting the work in for like, all for the degree. You get the degree. I assume you got the degree.
yeah.
Where did you go once you were done with the degree? Like, how did you go from graduating with the art degree
Yeah.
to working in comics? And what was the first gig that you had in comics?
Oh man, it took forever for me to get a actual like paying job in comics. So I worked at Sears for another several months looking for jobs, um, and eventually got a graphic design. Oh no, I eventually got an internship at an ad agency
Yeah.
and did the ad agency thing for a while and did graphic design, um, for a like mega church for a while, which also that's another, yeah. It's interesting how basically every part of me, like figuring out who I am and discovering myself, all was happening during the same time. Because if there's anything that will make you feel like disillusioned about a church or the church, it is working at one.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I did that for I did graphic design for
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 years, and I was already a year older than everyone else graduating college. I was already more than
Sure.
a year older. Um, so I didn't make my first comic until I was 27, and it was just like a little mini comic,
Yeah.
and
What was it about?
uh, it was about. So have you ever seen Interstellar?
No. The
No.
movie?
Yeah, the movie.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
So there's a scene where they are at this planet, and the planet has really intense gravity, and they go down onto the planet, and then they go back up, and the whole process takes like 8 hours. And when they get up back to their ship, the guy they left on the ship had aged like 10 years
Yeah.
because of because of relativity, right?
Sure.
Because of
Yeah.
gravity's effect on time. It had been years for him, it had been 8 hours for them. And so it was basically that scene.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just transcribed it from the movie?
The movie didn't exist yet. Like,
Oh.
I wrote a thing and just started making it, and, it was sad.
Yeah.
And, but I thought it was cool. It was good.
Yeah, yeah, that's neat.
Like, yes. But then that movie came out, and it's like, well, like, so much for that.
Look, I didn't see the movie. I would love your comic.
Maybe. It's not well drawn.
Yeah.
Not,
Well,
not-
it's your first one. You got to get the mistakes out of the way.
Yeah, it's true. But
Um,
then,
yeah.
I met a guy at a local comic shop that I was shopping at, and it was just kind of like I was tired of my job. I didn't like it, wasn't fulfilled by it, and had dropped off some of my mini comics. And this dude who had written something for the Image anthology, what was it called? Pop Gun.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember that book.
his name is Brian Winkler.
Yeah.
Picked up the comic and was like, "Oh, this is like good, or at least competent. We should do a thing together." And so we did Knuckleheads together, and eventually we did
Did
Comixology,
yeah.
and then IDW picked it up for collection.
So you did Knuckleheads kind of like on spec,
Yeah.
and then just kind of like just put it out there, and then eventually IDW picked it up. Is that how it worked?
So I became friends with Chris Robertson just through going to conventions,
Yeah.
and he started Monkey Brain up and offered to run it on Monkey Brain through Comixology.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. At that point, I had gotten fired from my job for arguing with the pastor, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, not basically. That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah, we butted heads a lot, and I argued with him, and he fired me. So
how were you as a graphic designer butting heads with the pastor? Like, I mean, do you want to get into it or no? No.
No.
It sounds rough.
It's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of intellectual property things, like
oh, so this wasn't even
like I don't want to plagiarize something.
so this isn't even like we have a difference of opinion on religion. This is like you know, you yeah. I'm sorry that we are that we're dealing with all this.
It's totally fine.
I think we should be up. Are we up now, guys? Can you see me? Okay, we're back up. All right. So you did Knuckleheads.
Yeah, did Knuckleheads.
And you did it for no pay.
For no money, yeah.
And
you
guys
still have no money on it.
You guys just like put it together. How long did it take you to do it? How many pages was it? Like,
it's 144 pages.
Holy shit.
Took me about a year to a year and a half.
That is crazy.
It's too much.
Yeah, especially in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, how many pages were you doing a day? Was that a thing that you were thinking about, or?
Yeah, I was trying to get a page a day done, and for the most part, I did. But I also had freelance graphic design and illustration clients that I was working for that actually did pay me money.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
wow, man, you were like thirsty. You were grinding it out.
I'm like, honestly, I still am.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to be in this business.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I definitely was grinding that out. IDW picked it up. I did a Kickstarter with my buddy Ken Lowry.
Yeah. Ken is great. Everyone should buy his books.
Yeah, he's a great writer, really funny guy. He did Fake AP Style book. That was a thing he put together and edited and wrote for. But we did a Kickstarter for that comic, and then based off of a poster I did for the band the Mountain Goats.
Yeah.
And like a virus, I kind of became pals with Kelly Sue DeConnick, and she just offered me to do an issue of Bitch Planet, and I think I did.
So wait.
I did 2 paid anthology pieces before that, but Bitch Planet was my first
Was it
paid
your first gig? Yeah. We gotta unpack that a little bit. So, like you did these posters. You were doing gig posters.
Yeah.
Did you do them for you to sell at shows, or were you commissioned to do them?
Yeah, that all the music posters I've ever done have been official. So
Okay.
either commissioned by the band or the venue or the management company.
How did you get involved doing that?
I just liked screen printed posters, and I did some research and found a guy in town who did them, and just
Yeah.
reached out to him, and it was like, hey, how do you do this? Like, here's my work. Like, what, you know,
I'm
can I pay you to print some of these for me or to show me how to do it? And so I did a few posters for the Texas Theater,
yeah.
and which is here in Dallas.
Did he hire you, or did the Texas Theater hire you independent of all this? Like, did the Texas
Theater? So I also approached the Texas Theater, and like they had
Good
a
God, man, you're
thing.
all over the place.
I just like,
I love it. You're trying to be friends with everybody.
yeah. Well, and also I just like, I know what I want, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and I don't. I don't know. I wonder if most people don't really know what they want.
yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think a lot about that, as far as like trying to envision clear, tangible goals for comics?
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. So back then, were you having was your clear, tangible goal to make gig posters, or was it comics, or were you trying to were you splitting your focus?
I want it all, man.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
And so, yeah, I did a few posters for them, and did a few posters for the Granada Theater here in town.
yeah,
And one of my a fan who has since become a friend just tweeted at me one day like, "Hey, have you ever done anything for At the Mountain Goats?" And I said, "Nope, but I'd love to." And I got an email from John Darnielle, the singer-songwriter.
yeah.
No more than 15 minutes later,
God.
with all caps, "Dude."
Oh my God. Twitter is crazy.
Yeah, I've gotten a ton of work over Twitter.
Kevin Mellon, when he got started at Archer, he the first season had come out, and he was just like, "Hey, really like the show," and then they were like, "You want to come work with us?" At least I'm pretty sure that's how it went down, and it blows my mind that connections can get made like that over Twitter if you just are willing, or if you're visible and you're putting out good work, and people can readily see the work, you know?
Yep. Well, and I think another really important element that doesn't get talked about very much is engaging with people.
Yeah.
I try to respond to literally everyone who ats me, even if they're kind of being a shit.
Yeah, I try to do the same thing.
And if I wouldn't have responded to some random dude saying, "Hey, have you ever done anything for the Mountain Goats?"
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's crazy. So Kelly Sue saw these posters at a show, I assume, somewhere.
I waited in line to meet her.
Yeah.
And, I knew that her and Matt were fans of the Mountain Goats. And I was like, well, I like their stuff.
Right.
They will probably like this.
They are on brand for you. You're probably on brand for them. It'll work out.
Yeah, probably. And so I just went and waited in line and met her and gave her a poster and a copy of Like a Virus, and just, I think we talked about Captain Marvel, which the first trade had just come out, or maybe second. And my oldest daughter had just been born, so I just talked about having kids and having a daughter, and
Sure.
me being excited for my daughter to have the kind of characters and I don't know if I want to say role model, but having those characters to identify with in the way that I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a great conversation, and we got along, and like the very next time that I saw her, which I think was at Emerald City Comic Con, like 8 months later.
Yeah.
Uh, the first thing she said was, dude, do you want to draw an issue of Bitch Planet? And I was like, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with Heartthrob? Were you approached by Chris or were you approached by Oni?
Approached by Charlie.
Yeah.
But I had already been friends with Chris for a couple years, I think.
Just from going to cons?
Yeah. Just going to cons. And kind of running in some of the same circles. And
sure.
We both did Monkey Brain books. He did the amazing Eisner Award nominated High Crimes.
Yeah. Chris and Charlie. Chris is the writer for Heartthrob, and Charlie is an editor for Oni Press. At the time was our editor, but is now moved on to a higher position at Oni.
Yeah, selling TV and board game.
Yeah. He was trying to get me to come out to
Gen Con?
No, the unplugged Penny Arcade PAX. Yeah.
Where is that?
It's in Philly.
Yeah, that's not too far for you.
No, I'm kind of into it, but I don't know if I have it in me for additional conventions that I don't like have to attend.
Sure. Yeah. No, man. I
yes.
go and hang out at Gen Con.
Yeah. I think doing a show and doing it as a fan would be an interesting experience.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it would be like.
Yeah.
I barely remember.
Yeah. So you were approached by Charlie, and you knew Chris already. So was this like something that you didn't even have to think about? Like you were just like, oh yeah, we'll do this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was like pretty bummed because Bitch Planet had come out and was really well received, and
yeah.
That volume got nominated for an Eisner, even though my name was not included on the nomination.
Yeah, we've talked about the Eisners before on this stream.
Yeah. I've got a lot of solidarity for colorists in that respect.
Yeah. There's the way that not just the Eisners, but the way that comics in general are structured to feature like one or two people only.
Yeah.
And not like just give everybody the whole team. Just give them all the award. Put the whole team on the solicits. Like, what is the problem? I don't understand. Comics are made to be. I mean, I'm gonna get off my high horse in a second, but comics are built, I feel like, for a 1980s model of how they were made, and that now it's the wild fucking West, and like everybody is like realizing that all these different roles have importance, and not only that, but like now multiple people are doing these roles, or they're doing multiple roles or whatever, and like it feels like the rest of the industry is like slow to catch up to this thing that's happening.
Yeah. Well, like in the 70s and 80s and before, like coloring was mostly a staff production job.
Yeah.
Like, and like I get why you wouldn't necessarily have an Eisner Award for best coloring when you have 3 people coloring every Marvel comic, and they never do the same book from month to month. They're just counting it out. So
yeah, it was like an afterthought.
That is not what it is like now.
No, not even remotely. So so you started working with Oni, and Heartthrob brings you to the present. Like you're working on Heartthrob as we speak.
Yeah.
We have just real quick to promote. Volume 2 is out now. It's directly below me, right down there. Volume 1 and Volume 2. I feel like Heartthrob, and I talked about this before on stream, for whatever reason, like, cannot find its footing. As far as like it can't find its audience. Heartthrob is a book that I am immensely proud of, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to. So you're a marketer.
Sure.
Like, do you think there are things that we could be doing that we're not doing?
Yeah, sure. I think that there are a lot of difficulties in selling a book like Heartthrob. For one, like, it's not in a popular genre right now.
Sure.
Like, there are not a lot of crime comics, and there are substantially less romance comics.
Yeah, we're blending the two like worst genres. Yeah.
Unpopular genres.
Yeah.
And like, I think it makes for a great book.
Sure.
But, like, selling Heartthrob to people at conventions is just way different than selling it to retailers who are in a lot of ways kind of the primary customer to a comics creator.
What is so I haven't been on any of the calls like trying to sell it to retailers. What is it like selling it to retailers versus selling it to customers at a convention?
Well, for one, for a retailer, it's a zero-sum game, right?
Yeah.
They have X number of dollars per week,
Sure.
and they have X amount of shelf space, and that
Sure.
is not going to change.
Yeah.
And when you're going up against superhero books, the most popular genre,
Yeah.
also made by the most popular creators, and also with characters that the audience has been trained to be familiar with and like literally since they were born. In some cases, since their parents were born.
Yeah.
A creator-owned book is a huge risk versus Batman 50. Like,
Yeah. Just order 100 of them. Yeah.
just 100, order 200.
Right. Yeah.
You'll sell them eventually.
Yeah.
Even people who don't read Batman are likely to check out a big issue, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around, are people who like Batman likely to pick up Heartthrob? And the answer is just no.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't think you can port any of the audience over?
I think you could port like 2% of the audience over.
Yeah. So where's the audience if it's not in the comic shop?
I mean, obviously, it's on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's out there right
look
now.
Look at Check Please.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I don't know what Check Please is.
it's a gay hockey webcomic.
Yeah.
Sports comics are even less popular
Sure. Than romance and
than romance.
Yeah.
And it is, for one, it's really well done. Like, it's great, and Goozy is great.
Yeah.
But I also think Heartthrob is great.
Yeah.
But Nguzi just raised 300 and something $1,000
Holy shit.
to kickstart Volume 3.
That's awesome.
She's broken the record for top grossing comics Kickstarter twice.
Wow.
Yeah. She
So-
broke her own record.
So this is why when I saw you at Heroes, you were like, I'm thinking about getting out of the direct market. Is because
And I don't want to say getting out of the direct market, because like I'm thinking about
sure.
pitching a sci-fi thing, but for like a long form thing, I just wonder if it wouldn't be better to go where the audience is and try to get
Right.
the biggest audience instead of trying to milk $4 a month out of a very small audience that isn't used to
Yeah.
this genre. My dog is barking. I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's 107 degrees in
Jeez.
Dallas right now.
That's
So-
that sounds terrible.
he begs and begs and begs to go out, and then he gets out there and is
And
like,
he's like, why?
and my dog, I am covered in fur. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
why did I do this?
How's it going, everyone? We got 11 viewers in the chat right now. We've been having some technical issues, and I apologize for that. I've been trying to keep the stream running right and also talking to Robert, so I hope it's all going well. You watched like 2 streams of me and decided to buy Heartthrob as soon as you could, and you did. That's great. I do feel like there is an audience for Heartthrob, and I don't know how to put it in that audience's hands. Like it's creatively, like I said, it's something that I'm very proud of. But I've been it's really frustrating because I feel like there's an answer that I just don't know, you know? Like, or an audience that I haven't cultivated, that I want to cultivate. You know, like when I look at like we did some scripting on stream. I'm eventually, when I have time, going to be doing some drawing on stream. I've been drawing some stuff on the side, and I want to make comics, but I've seen the way that DC, Marvel, and to a lesser extent, like, you know, Boom, Vault, all that stuff, like, just grinds you up for like very little reward, especially on the low end, you know? And I feel like my heart isn't in trying to be the next, you know, artist on Batman. My heart is in like, I want to make a weird thing, you know, and just like put it out there and see how it does. But I also realize that like none of this stuff is really marketable.
Yeah, man, I just don't think that's true. I think that the direct market was set up to sell superhero comics. Like, it was set up, and not even just superhero. Like, it was really set up to sell Marvel comics.
Yeah.
And it is amazing how much it's been able to diversify from just that. But you know, at the end of the day, like, there's only so much you can do to change an existing industry and business model. But I just feel like, I mean, like, Twitch is a fascinating example of that.
Yeah, I'm trying it, obviously. Some streams are better than others, apparently, with technical issues. But do you think that Heartthrob would have been a greater success if we decided to just put a page up, like 2 or 3 pages a week, and just put it on the internet for free, and then came out with trade paperbacks, and then people could order them, and like we could just kickstart it and whatever? Like, do you think that would have been a more viable option? In retrospect,
it's hard to say financially. Like, you can never predict these things, but I think we would have probably 10 or 20 times the readership.
Yeah, I'm also like, I don't know what kind of money Oni's putting down, and I don't see the exact numbers, so I'm speculating, hugely speculating. But I think it's really interesting to see like how things have changed within the industry, and I don't know if having the larger readership would translate to bigger sales, or maybe it would. These things like seem very weird to me. So we talked about how like you try to focus up and have goals.
Yeah.
Obviously Heartthrob was a huge learning experience.
Oh yeah.
What have you like? What has making Heartthrob, and we're talking about it like it's over, and it's not. We're still working on it as we speak, and we have a 3rd volume on the way.
Yes,
but like
literally as speak.
What has how has Heartthrob informed like your next set of goals?
Man, that's an interesting question. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's a tough one for me. I think I've definitely learned a lot about how I like to work and how I don't like to work.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean
I,
as far as like your time during the day, or?
sure, and just like so right now I don't have a like hard deadline on this issue, so it's
Yeah.
taking me a lot longer.
Yeah.
So like I like to have hard deadlines.
Right.
I get way more done. But I never ever want to be in a crunch like I was at the end of Heartthrob Volume 2 again.
Yeah.
Like I penciled and inked an entire issue in 3 weeks.
And you had we got to say that you had help on volume 2 as well, because it wasn't coming together fast enough.
Yeah, I hired a friend, Gavin Guidry, to help me with backgrounds. So he did like
How did that work out? Like,
in the book.
What was that?
He did maybe a quarter of the backgrounds in the book.
Okay. So how did you find Gavin? How did you end up working with him?
I met Gavin at a small convention, and like the con was going well for me, and he was, you know, it was like his maybe second convention, and it was not going well for him.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that's the way it goes. Unless you're like a real anomaly, like your first year or two of conventions is tough.
For sure.
And so whenever I have extra money in my pocket at a con and can see a talented youngin who's not having a great time, I just go and talk to them and buy something.
Yeah.
And so he had this cool Yosagi Ojimbo original, and so I went and I bought it and asked him if he wanted to hang out and play board games that night.
Yeah.
Just trying to be encouraging, you know?
Sure.
And like I really want to be encouraging and helpful, especially to like younger creators or new creators. And so yeah, we got along really well, and I mean he's really good, and he needed some work and I needed to be faster.
Yeah.
And so it all just kind of worked out, you know?
Yeah. Do you, looking back on that, and you were saying that you regret the crunch.
Yes.
Do you regret, was it hard, like, turning over some of the work to someone else on Heartthrob, or were you just happy to get it out the door?
Not at all. It was... I like the act of drawing a lot, but the thing that most people don't understand about drawing comics is that every page you're drawing, like, let's say on average 4 or 5 panels. On Heartthrob, it's actually a little higher.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And on each panel, I've got, like, just on this page, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in this panel, a table, a couple of chairs, some windows with bars on them, and so it's like, it's just an awful lot of work to draw 5 people and a table and 4 chairs and a window and make it not look bad, like make it look good,
right,
and compelling. And then the next panel, another 4 people in chairs, and then another 4 people.
Yeah.
And then the next panel, it's just a close-up. Oh wait, but it's a close-up of a collage of clippings from magazines. So it is actually another 6 people and 2 cars and 2 guns and a pile of money.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's just really labor intensive.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do this much work. Like, I for me, like 40 or 50 hours a week,
Yeah.
that would be enough work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd
The
be cool with that.
the crazy thing is that like not only are we like trying to, we're expected to work more than 40, 50 hours to like grind out all these projects, and like do put in all this work, but then you are also on top of it expected to keep up with, promotion, to keep up with accounting, to keep up with like marketing. Every aspect of the business, top to down, is really just you.
Yeah.
And trying to make all the trains run on time, I feel like is, at least I can't speak for you, but for me, trying to make all the trains run on time is actually impossible for me.
Yeah. Sure.
Like,
and like I'm real good at sitting down and focusing on something,
yeah,
and I'm real bad at trying to do 40 small tasks in a day.
yeah, same.
And so, like, honestly, I would really love to be able to do 3 pages a week, and another kind of side project thing, be that a poster or a piece of merch
Yeah.
or something. That I think 3 pages a week would allow me to, for one, draw the pages I want to draw, right? Because
Right.
there are approximately like 3 pages out of 300 in Heartthrob that I really was able to spend the time I
Really?
spend on it.
I wouldn't have guessed that from someone who's combed over the entire book. I wouldn't have guessed that there was like 3 that you loved and that was it. What?
There are a lot that I like, that I'm like, oh, I like this. This turned out nice. I would like to have polished this,
Right.
that, and the other. You know.
Yeah.
With comics,
yeah.
everything is done. Nothing is perfect.
And
it's okay.
Yeah.
I just like to get a little closer. You know.
I've just started. I'm trying out a new technique on the Realm number 9 where I'm using a lot of masks and stuff, and it's coming out faster but not quite as good as, and I don't know if it's not quite as good because of the new technique, or simply because it's new, and I'm like, I just need to figure out how it works and get it to work right.
Sure.
But man, it's like I feel this constant battle of like, well, if I could do this faster, then I could hang out with my fiance more. If I could do this faster, then like I could stream more often. If I could do this faster, I could like open my life to other things rather than just be comics 24/7 all day every day, which is like not a way to live a well-rounded life. And this is something that I also talk about a lot on stream, which is like, comics are a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. And honestly, all of these reasons are why Heartthrob Volume 3 got delayed. It's because like I am a dad. I've got 2 kids, and I'm not going to be a bad dad. I'm going to be a good dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a good husband. And that means that I'm only a pretty good comic artist. Then honestly, that hurts. It really hurts.
Yeah.
Like, and it is harmful emotionally and to my pride and all that. But like, I'm just not going to make my kids and wife pay for it.
Sure. Yeah. Nolan Woodward talked about how having a kid, I asked him, like, because he's a colorist and he's thinks about these things a lot, and I was like, so how has having a kid impacted your schedule, like the amount of work that you're able to do? Have you found like a way around it? Have you found like a system that works? And he was like, no, the kid is 2 to 3 projects a month for me. He was like, I was doing 6, now I can do 3 to 4. And he's like, and that's just the reality of it. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna, it's the same thing. He's like, I'm not gonna be a bad dad. Like, kid comes first, and like I get as much work done as I possibly can.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just feel like, and honestly, it's getting a little easier now that my kids are getting a little older
Sure, sure.
because, like, I don't spend as much when it's bath night. It
Yeah.
doesn't take as long. It takes
Yeah.
20 minutes instead of 40, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I change, for one kid is potty trained,
Yeah.
so that's awesome.
Yeah,
Never have to wipe her butt again.
yeah.
No joke. That's 20 minutes a day.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I'm slowly earning back a
Right.
few inches, and a lot of that is going into work, but also like I hadn't turned my I looked at my PlayStation last month, and I
Oh
hadn't
God.
turned my PlayStation in 6 months.
Yeah. I'm just as bad at that. I've realized that like basically time is the most like precious commodity that I have.
Yeah.
And
So,
how I spend it, I have to be like hyper aware of.
yeah.
And if it doesn't line up with like you were saying, having clear goals. Like if the time doesn't line up with clear goals of mine, then I don't know what I'm doing. Like I don't know why I'm even bothering. And like as much as I love video games, I really like can only play like maybe a couple hours a week tops. It's really hard to find the
But
time.
also, like for me, I'm trying to play video games one night a week, and part of it is social, right? Because the
Sure.
only games I play are with my buddies, and so I'll play from like 9 to midnight once a week, and it helps me relax.
That's the thing too, is like you
A lot
need
of
that.
You do,
Yeah.
but before kids, I would play 4 or 5 hours 3 nights a week.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's been reduced by a factor of 5,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
So like, I really want to build Gundams, right?
Right.
Like this, I painted this morning.
Yeah.
Say, Gundam torso. This is all I've been able to do on this stupid Gundam. And
But
who
you
knows
chip
how long I've
away.
had this kit.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what? It's turning out pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good torso.
I really do think it is. It's the first one I'm painting.
Painting miniatures is one of the things that I would love to do.
It's so relaxing.
Yeah, but I can't find the time.
Yeah.
I had I talked about this on stream before where someone came up to my table at Heroes and they were saying, they gave me a portfolio and they were like, I could tell because I had seen this person's work before.
Yeah.
And I could tell that like they were handing me work that wasn't finished. Like windows were missing in the building in the background. Like, it just wasn't finished. And I was like, what's going on with this? And he was like, well, I work a day job and then I'm tired and I play Overwatch. And I'm like, well, how much Overwatch are you playing? Like, think about, and I'm not saying don't ever play Overwatch, but I'm saying just like consider how much time is going into it.
Yeah. For me, it's if you don't have grand ambitions or whatever, then yeah, cool. Play as much Overwatch as your life will allow.
Yeah, but this gets back to like us saying that you got to be thirsty.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is like if you want to have a career in comics or music or even streaming, any creative field, all of those jobs are taken. You've got to work harder than the people who already have that job.
Oh,
like,
God.
You have to beat them. That's just life. If you want a seat at the table, you have to beat someone who's already there.
Yeah. Yeah. The good news is comics will run roughshod over a lot of people and wear them out and then they'll leave.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, People in the chat saying that they're trying to reconcile the fact they need to sacrifice so many things to make art, and it's tough.
Yeah,
Hard
it
to
is.
decide what to do. Yeah, I know you said you started around 27 is when you started to make comics. I was starting at fresh out of college, and it was incredibly difficult for me to like manage my time. And I was doing things like 30-hour days and stuff like that, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like it was having an impact on my work. Like I was making bad work because I was tired all the time, like
Sure.
because I could not manage my time. So I feel like if there's anything that anyone picks up from this stream, it's that, you know, you should be able to figure this stuff out. Like this stuff is important.
Yeah. And also, like, I don't know, how old are you? I feel like I didn't even start until I was 27,
Sure.
and it wasn't a full-time thing for another 6 years after that. Like,
Yeah.
I've only been full-time for, like, I don't know, I guess maybe 4 years. I'm 36, yeah.
Yeah.
About 32.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is hard, and yeah, it does take a pretty ludicrous amount of work. But also, like, I don't know,
It's like, what else would you want to be doing?
you've got, and yeah, but also, like, you've got time. Like,
Yeah.
you don't, like, Steve McNiven didn't break in until he was 45, something like that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He was a school teacher, yeah. And, yeah, everyone, we're so obsessed with, like, these young people doing things, instant success. Like, almost no one has instant success.
Right.
Almost no one is at the top of their field in their 20s or even their 30s. Like,
Yeah.
you got time.
Yeah. I know that, like, the work that I'm making now is my best work, and I am continuing to top the work that's coming before it. So it feels weird to be like, I'm clearly not done.
Yeah.
And I'm clearly still moving forward. So
And, like, we're probably going to live longer than our parents.
sure.
Like, do I want to be done at 60? I
Right.
don't think I do.
Somebody, Phil Hester talked about how he is in his 40s, I want to say, late 40s.
Early 50s, yeah.
And he was saying that he was reading some article about another creator and described their work in their 40s as late in their career. And he kind of came to this realization of like, oh shit, is that me? Am I like, are my best years behind me, or like, am I still moving forward, kind of thing? And I think that it's tough to figure that stuff out.
I mean, yeah, but also, like, David Bowie made Black Star in his 70s, and that's
Yeah.
I don't think he made a better album.
Right.
Like,
I think age is kind of a number. It's just about how much you want it. If you're just doing it to do it, you're gonna make a bad product. If you're doing it because you love it, that's gonna shine through.
Yeah.
Yeah, being genuine with the project will always shine through.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you love it, and especially if you're writing or telling your own story, like,
Yeah.
if you feel like what you're saying is important, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, geez, George R.R. Martin, like, say what you will about Game of Thrones,
Sure.
but, you know, he's not a spring chicken.
Yeah. So speaking of writing your own thing, we've flatted previously on the stream a piece from you. You're at least thinking about life after Heartthrob. What are you working on? Do you want to talk about any of that, or?
Maybe vaguely.
Okay.
I'm in the process of writing, and I just started.
So
So,
you're writing it. You're doing everything.
probably not gonna color it.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a I don't know, a bit of a problem I need to figure out because I think I want to run it as a web comic,
Yeah.
but I also don't really um, like I can color a single image. I think pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I think I can turn out a professionally colored cover or poster,
Sure.
but that is not what most of the job is,
No.
and
It is not.
I have not learned the skills and disciplines to be an interior colorist.
Just like drawing, like I can in the sketchbook challenge, I feel like I've had a couple of like gems in the rough where like things all clicked into place and I made a good single image. And
Sure.
like it worked. But I know for a fact that I have not drawn enough to make a good page yet. You know? Like I have to and the thing is that I have to start practicing making pages to in order to be making pages.
Yep.
But yeah. So how was your writing process?
So I pretty much have these like broad beats and scenes
Yeah.
that I had that just kind of came to me, you know. And that has kind of happened my whole life. Like ideas and stories will just kind of like pop into my head from from somewhere in my subconscious. And the trick has always been taking those ideas and putting them together in a way that is meaningful and compelling in an actual story instead of just stringing some scenes together.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've written out all of those major beats and scenes on note cards.
Yeah.
And I have different colored note cards for different story threads.
Huh.
And then, like, here is the chunk I'm working on right now.
Nice.
And so I hang them up together in the order that I think they need to take place in. And then I figure out what the gaps are and what needs to...
Sure.
What the audience needs to see. And
so, how big is this thing? Do you have like a set goal in mind of like page count or whatever?
It's my I want to try a big thing, you know?
Yeah.
I want to try something big.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I think a webcomic might be the right medium for this. Because it's something that I could do 2 pages a week for just kind of, for a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm reading Naruto and I'm reading Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin.
Yeah.
Which are both very long form.
Yeah.
And there are some things especially in Naruto that that just don't happen in American comics, and that I specifically have never gotten the chance to do because I've always worked with writers who condense action, right? So Chris really condensed action. Kelly Sue also really condensed action. Like Brian with Knucklehead's condensed action, but then he would decompress, but only for jokes.
Yeah.
And for me, the thing that I want to do when I am decompressing, basically I want to play with compression and decompression in the way that a lot of mangaka do it. And I think about it almost like dynamics in music. Like in classical music and especially like romantic period stuff, these movements, they'll have really depressed movements and really bombastic big movements, and you will have kind of a pattern of that. And so I think that makes for a more interesting reading experience, So like in Naruto, they have in the tuning exam arc, they have like a funny scene of them taking this test,
Yeah.
and then they have like a short fight scene, and then a calm scene, and then a big, like bombastic, very long fight scene.
Yeah.
And so I would like to do like a very long fight scene. I would like to
Sure.
do a 20-page fight scene.
Yeah.
Um,
That's kind of impossible to do with issues.
but if you've got 200 pages online and you're just
Sure.
reading it, then it's actually really satisfying. Like, I think that Naruto is such a satisfying
Yeah.
comic.
Huh.
And it has these like quiet personal moments
Yeah.
that are really like emotionally resonant, and it also has just some really like raw badass fights and action.
Yeah. The thing that always kind of intimidated me with long form stuff, and still kind of does, is that you can't. I'm always afraid, and this might just speak to me as a creator and like how bored I get very quickly. And I feel like this mentality also lends itself to coloring, because I can work on 4 or 5 different things a month. But I fear like scripting something out, getting like 20 pages in and being like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of that, especially scripting it for the first time? Like this is the first time that you are scripting. Do you think? Yeah, anything. So is it going to be? Are you afraid that you're going to get in there and you're going to be like, oh, I'm actually not that great at scripting, and so that's going to be a puzzle for me to solve, and I'm excited about it, or I'm not that good at scripting, I just want to like go work on something else? Like, where do you think your mentality is with something like that?
Yeah, I'm just not afraid.
Yeah.
Just not afraid. I am a self-conscious person, but yeah, I don't know why. I have no anxiety about it.
Yeah.
Zero.
Man, I wish that I had no anxiety about this kind of stuff. I find that anxiety dictates a lot of the paths that I choose within comics, in like weird ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely have made decisions based out of fear and anxiety in the past, and I don't feel like that's done anything good for me.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it always puts you at the mercy of other people.
Sure.
You're reacting, and I just am at this point in my life where like I'm 36. I'm not gonna live forever, but I'm also still young. I feel young. I feel the exact same as I did when I was 26.
Right.
So why give anyone else a voice in what I do with my life? I'm
Sure.
just done with it. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Have you thought about trying to do something long format and thinking about it in a way where you're like, well, if I do this long format thing, if I do 200 pages, this is X amount of time out of my life. Do you think about like quantity over like one project? Is that a concern that you have at all, or are you just like, this fascinates you so much that you just want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm at this point really interested in doing comics that don't really have my attention.
Yeah.
It's just too much work. But yeah, man, it's just like, I kind of think as it a bit like Star Wars. Like, if you look at all 6 of George Lucas's Star Wars movies,
Yeah.
all 3 of them are like pretty radically different from each other.
Yeah.
And so like if I get tired of doing one thing, I assume I'm still gonna like these characters.
Sure.
I will just take things in a different direction. We'll
Oh
just
my
like
god, I'm excited about that. As a viewer, as a reader, like that's the kind of stuff that I love out of long format stuff where it goes in one direction and then they just cut the wheel and go in a totally different direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like I want to I want to do comics about the ideas that I'm thinking about, and um I feel like late stage capitalism
Yeah.
is kind of like eating humanity alive right now,
Sure.
and I think that that just doesn't need to be the case. Like there are other ways, and there are other ways of having economic structures that that aren't all like top down, uh, like state run like communist models. I think you can have
Yeah.
really you can have the best of both worlds. Like I want to talk about politics. I want to talk about religion, except for like not not really. You know, I guess I want I want people to read my comic and be like, wait, is that is he is he saying something about you know
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
is he it's this is gonna make my parents real uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah.
This comic is gonna make my parents super uncomfortable.
Are you scripting and going, or are you running it by anyone before you like kind of get your legs?
Haven't decided yet.
Haven't decided yet. Huh.
Yeah, I'm doing the first chunk, just me.
Yeah.
But I kind of like I've really crafted the first chunk
Okay.
over the last 2 years,
Yeah.
and I feel pretty confident about it.
Nice,
Like,
man. I'm looking forward to read it.
yeah, thanks. Like, I don't know. I feel like I could make. I feel like I know how to make a comic as well as anyone.
Sure.
Um, and
It's crazy to think in those terms. Like, I get a lot of the anxiety that I was talking about comes from like I just sweat making like a good product. You know,
Sure.
that's just internally who I am. Like,
But like, you look at your stuff, and like all of your stuff is a good product.
right.
Like,
But that's because I'm losing my mind on the other on the other end of those
no,
comics.
it's not.
Uh,
It's just because you are good. You have those skills.
but
That's
the thing
that's
that
it. You want to make a good thing, and you have the ability, and you put in the effort. That's
the
it.
thing that like ropes me back into like, oh, I could just do anything, and like helps me shrug the anxiety is that the bar for just like making a comic is mind-bogglingly low. Like, you can just jump in at any skill level, at any kind of like complexity, at any size, and
Yeah.
just kind of go. And it feels like no matter what you do, you will even if it's not the best thing in the world, it won't be the worst thing in the world.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm very confident in the scale of stories
Yeah.
that like the worst thing that I am capable of making at this point in my life is still in the top 33%
Yeah.
quality.
I'd say that's accurate. Yeah.
Like my shittiest thing is still gonna be like
A lot better than
a solid C.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. That's awesome. So is there anything you want to plug anywhere where people can find you before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best places to keep up with me and my stuff are just Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah.
And that they're both just at Robert Wilson IV. Yeah, this is really
man.
fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, man. We can talk about comics again down the line. We'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back.
Cool. Well, I
Be-
think we're gonna wrap it up. If there's anything you want to push outside of Heartthrob, or any place that people can get other Robert Wilson the Fourth stuff, like posters or anything like that?
I mean, it's all linked through my stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
People want to buy stuff they can.
They can click around.
I'm not in like hard sales mode right now.
I can tell you're pretty chill.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to chat, and honestly, like, that's kind of why I want to make comics and stories. Like, I just want to talk with people, you know?
Yeah. Comics are just a delivery system for you to make friends with everyone.
To express ideas and make friends, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. I can respect that. Yeah.
That's what
Cool,
I want
man.
out of life.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming by again, and thanks for everybody who came by on the stream and endured our technical issues. I'm gonna cut everything together a little bit better, a little more coherent on YouTube, so that you can just watch it in one go. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Say goodbye to Robert, everybody.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Yep. Bye,
See you.
everyone.